This just happened, and my fellow Bolts fans, the news is already making waves among the Chargers faithful. Los Angeles has just found itself in a situation that could completely change the team's plans for the upcoming season. And I'm talking about something that, honestly, very few people saw coming. The news is fresh, and once you get the full picture, you'll realize why this could be a much bigger deal than it seems. Because when the Chargers make a move, it's not just business as usual. It's about building a team capable of truly competing in Los Angeles, stepping up in the AFC, and finally making the kind of noise the fan base has been waiting for. And look, I know you as a Bolts fan want to know exactly what happened. I went wild when the news broke too. But before we dive into the details, if you really believe in the Chargers, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around until the end, because the final piece of information in this story might just be the most important one. My friend, you can breathe a sigh of relief. What looked like extremely worrying news for the Los Angeles Chargers has turned out to have a much more reassuring outcome. Quentin Johnston limped off the field during the joint practice against the San Francisco 49ers, immediately raising alarms in Los Angeles. However, the latest reports indicate that the wide receiver did not suffer a serious injury. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Johnston isn't expected to be sidelined for any significant amount of time. In fact, there's even a possibility he won't miss any time at all. The player couldn't finish Tuesday's practice due to a lower body injury, but he now has a few days to recover before the team's next practice scheduled for this weekend, following Thursday's matchup against the 49ers. And that detail is huge. Johnston is entering his fourth year in the NFL, arguably the most important season of his career. He is in the final year of his 4-year rookie contract, valued at approximately $14 million. In other words, the time has come to show why he was a first-round draft pick. So far, his tenure with the Chargers has been a roller coaster. Johnston has played 46 games, racking up 144 receptions, 1,877 yards, and 18 touchdowns, averaging 13 yards per catch. His catch rate stands at 59.5%, while he averages 40.8 yards per game. The numbers show he can produce, but he hasn't yet reached the level expected of a first-round wide receiver. There is another statistic worth noting. Johnston has missed only 5 of a possible 51 games over his first 3 seasons. So, availability has never been his main issue. The real challenge has always been consistency. He has struggled to create separation against man-to-man coverage and has also dealt with inconsistent hands. But now, a change could completely transform his story. Mike McDaniel has arrived to lead the offense, and his system could put Johnston in much more favorable situations, utilizing quick passes, short throws, crossing routes, and plays designed to let the receiver use his speed after the catch. As Johnston tries to prove he can finally break out in the Chargers offense, the team has just made a roster move involving the wide receiver position. This speaks volumes about the competition within the group. The Chargers wasted no time making a change to their receiving core. The team announced the signing of wide receiver Liam Clifford. To make room on the roster, Los Angeles waived injured wide receiver Luke Grimm. Clifford entered the NFL this offseason as an undrafted free agent and spent part of training camp with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, he gets a fresh opportunity to earn a spot wearing a Chargers uniform, and there is an interesting story behind this player. Over 4 seasons at Penn State, from 2022 to 2025, Clifford appeared in 52 games, starting 15 of them. During that span, he recorded 42 receptions for 530 yards, averaging 12.6 yards per catch and scoring 1 offensive touchdown. But perhaps his most interesting moment came on special teams. Last season, Clifford scored a touchdown after recovering a blocked punt against UCLA and returning it 6 yards. In other words, he isn't just arriving as a receiver vying for a spot in the offense. His experience in special team situations could also prove valuable during the battle for a roster spot. And there is an interesting family connection too. Liam Clifford is the brother of Sean Clifford, a quarterback selected by the Green Bay Packers in the 5th round of the 2023 NFL Draft, and is currently with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Liam will have a new chance to write his own story in the NFL. He will wear jersey number 39 for the Chargers. But let's be clear, a signing like this doesn't necessarily mean Clifford has a major role locked in. Right now, he's coming in to compete, prove his worth, and try to convince the coaching staff that he deserves a spot on the roster. And that brings us straight to the most important point. The Chargers are making moves, reshaping the offense, and creating new possibilities around Justin Herbert. Quentin Johnston needs to seize his opportunity. Liam Clifford wants to earn his. And other receivers will be fighting for a spot too. But there is one player on whom this entire overhaul places even more pressure. The quarterback. Because if the offense is finally more organized, if the offensive line stays healthy, and if Mike McDaniel can put his players in favorable situations, the inevitable question will be, how far can Justin Herbert take this team? And that is precisely where we get to the weightiest part of this story. My friend, this is where things get serious. Justin Herbert possesses practically every trait we look for in an elite quarterback. He is tall, strong, and athletic. He has an incredibly powerful arm, can throw from various angles, and has the ability to execute virtually every type of pass. But there is one issue that has dogged his career in Los Angeles: the playoffs. The Chargers' painful eliminations have created a narrative that seems to repeat itself every year. Often, the team struggled with roster issues, offensive line problems, or limited offensive options. Yet, when the decisive moment arrives, Herbert also needs to shoulder his share of the responsibility. And the pressure has mounted even further after Jason Reed of Fansided ranked Herbert 4th on a list of the 9 most overrated players in the NFL, a ranking based on a point system derived from the picks of division experts. The criticism doesn't question Herbert's talent. Quite the opposite. The argument itself acknowledges his immense physical ability, possessing one of the league's strongest arms, and the fact that he is an underrated runner who has put up impressive numbers despite the issues surrounding him. But there is one simple expectation: performance in crunch time. Herbert holds a 0-3 playoff record, and his performances in those games have faced harsh criticism. In their 2 most recent wildcard exits, the Chargers scored just 1 touchdown and a total of only 15 points. And no one has forgotten what happened in 2022, when Los Angeles suffered one of the biggest collapses in playoff history after building a massive lead against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, however, the landscape has changed. Mike McDaniel has arrived to lead the offense. Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are healthy. The offensive line has been bolstered on the interior. The roster has added new offensive weapons, and the system promises to create more opportunities for players like Quentin Johnston. In short, Herbert will have new weapons and a different structure around him. That is why 2026 could be a pivotal season for his career. The question is whether he can turn all that talent into wins when the margin for error vanishes. Because quarterbacks considered truly clutch must find ways to overcome adversity and elevate the team's level of play in the most critical moments. And now, Herbert has a huge opportunity to change that narrative. The season is approaching, and this time, there will be fewer and fewer excuses. And now I want to hear from you. Do you believe Justin Herbert will finally lead the Chargers on a deep playoff run in 2026? If you believe in the Bolts, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because this season promises to be one of the most important in recent Los Angeles Chargers history.